What up, y'all? I am back for another video. Today I am doing my 2012 list, and I felt like 2012 I was able to, get a list together. Um, because there was some good stuff in 2012. So let's go. I kind of just want to get right into it. But 2012, I was in high school, 10th grade, going into 11th, and there was a bunch. I remember the biggest one for me that year was Dark Knight Rises. Weird because it's not my number one. It was my number one at the time, but it is aged poorly. I'm gonna get to it. You had movies like Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, so there was some duds in 2012. But I do think 2012 was a pretty decent year. Better, I think, better than 2010. So, um, and probably you already know what my number one's gonna be. Dread. I mean, Dread is that is like a sleeper hit. That like a lot of people didn't even know that was coming out. That was it was just like what out of nowhere. This was when, and I'm gonna spoil it. Avengers, the first one, is not on my list. It was a good theater experience at the time. I just don't think the movie ages well. I think there's good parts and some decent character work with the individual characters. As a movie, I don't think it holds up for me. I think Loki was definitely at his best, but for me, I don't like the way it's shot. Some of the story doesn't work for me. Like the middle portion doesn't work for me. I rewatched it a couple years ago. I think it was right before Endgame, and I just was like, nah. I don't think it's bad, and definitely it's better than what we're getting now. I understand why some love it, but it's to me does not deserve to be in like the upper echelon of superhero films. And I get it, the build up to it, and I think that's why a lot of people are like want to put it up there with like, you know, Batman '89, Spider Man, for me, Watchmen, like movies like that. I just don't think it's there. I think it just doesn't. I actually think Days of Future Past is a way better film. X Men, even the first X Men, I think is a better film. I just think so. Overall, I couldn't put Avengers in my 2012 list. And I understand that's on a lot of people's list. It's probably their favorite movie that year, or at least in like the top five of that year. But for me, it isn't. So I'm just gonna say that right now. It's not in the list. But I'm not gonna, like I said, I'll credit it was a fun theater experience at the time. But that's about it. But anyway, tomorrow, Saw 4, continuing with the franchise. I might try to watch Saw 1 tonight, so I can just do it in the morning. Review it in the morning, just kind of knock it out, or like in the afternoon, early afternoon, or something like that. So I don't have to like just do it later in the evening tomorrow. We'll see. I'll see how tomorrow goes, but that's gonna be the plan at least. I'm gonna do that. Anyway, let's get into 2012. Man, anyway, my number 10 is Chronicle. Chronicle's an interesting one. Basically, it's a found footage movie. I remember seeing this one not in theaters. I think it was like when it was like on one of those movie channels. No. My friend showed me it, and man, it was good. The whole premise is these three friends, high school, um, young, not young, but like Michael B. Jordan, be very, it's pre like Black Panther and all that, and pre Creed too. So it's like it wasn't a big name yet. Um, get basically they get superpowers. Um, they gain well because they're different. One of them starts like one of them's the popular Steve, and then Andrew and his cousin. Basically, they all become friends when they all basically get superpowers. But Andrew, like, basically the simple premise, Andrew starts going dark and starts abusing his powers, and that's when we get like this kind of fun final confrontation. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. He starts Andrew like really like you see his descent. Like he starts off like a normal kid. Like you obviously he's kind of bully dude. Um, so and it's shot with Andrew's camera, all of film, and that's when we get this kind of cool final fight in the end between Matt and Andrew. Um, I think, yeah, and Steve, which is Michael B. Jordan, he actually dies pretty early on. So I definitely recommend this movie. It's a interesting film, especially just about like a descent of a character. I love movies like that where characters just mind descends further and further down. That's why I love The Shining. Obviously Joker is another one, or Falling Down, like movies like that. So I definitely recommend this one. So that's why I had to put it on the list. It's a little bit lower, but I definitely still felt like it had to be acknowledged as a great one. Actually, might review it at some point. Maybe if not this week, maybe next week. Maybe next week I'll review it. Fuck it. It's been a little bit since I've watched it anyway. So my number 9, Underworld Awakening. This one is definitely not as good as the first. I would say the first two are definitely the best Underworld movies, but Underworld Awakening was a decent comeback. This is it made sense. You had the prequel with Rona Mitra, so they're like, okay, we got to bring Celine back, and I thought this was a decent way to do it. And even what's that actor's name? Michael Ealy. You don't really see him as much these days, but he was the detective character. He was pretty fun. Basically, you have like birth of like these hybrids, and Michael's been captured, and he's kind of like he's not really in the movie. So the movie is kind of like her getting visions and finds out there's a girl who obviously we know is the daughter of Celine. And this is the movie where you have the giant werewolf and Charles Dance as the main head vampire is just, I mean, come on. Yeah, Charles Dance is always great, and it's just a fun. It's a great addition to the franchise. I personally think, to me, that I would have been fine if this was it, because Blood Wars, which is 2016, probably will not be on the list. I didn't hate it. I just didn't think it. I hadn't seen it again. I'd only seen it once, to be honest. That's the only one I've seen once. I've seen Awakening a few times, and it's a good film. I thought it was a good addition. Like I said, it's not as strong as the first two, or even the prequel, but I definitely do feel like it was decent for what it was. And Celine, it was great to have her back. It was like Kate Beckinsale never left the role, and I think it could have been. I think the problem with Blood Wars, they waited too long, because Blood Wars is like 4 years later. Why'd you wait 4 years? Realistically, it should have came out like 2014, like 2 years. Like if you didn't want to like just release it right away. It just, I don't know. I always felt like it was weird. Um, um, it's just the problem I had with it is Blood War. I'm going on a little on tangent since I'm probably not gonna put on the 2016 list anyway. There was too much going on. There's a portion of the film Kate Beckinsale disappears. They waited too long to make it, so I think if they had just did it like right after this one. Anyway, yeah, Underworld Awakening's great. I reviewed it around the run I did the franchise, so definitely recommend it. So I had to put it on the list. That's my number 9. Number 8 is The Dark Knight Rises. This was one that actually, for a long time, was my number 1. Or, no, it was number 1. Because I was just on a Batman kick at the time. And I still do feel like it's a decent ending overall to the trilogy. But, man, it ages bad. There's just some cringe in it. But I still think there's mostly good that I felt like I could just not take it off. I couldn't take it off the list. But I had to definitely heavily put it down. So it's at number 8 now. But I definitely love the theater experience. I was just, because I think me and my friend were playing the Arkham game. I think it was Arkham City at the time, before, because we were gearing up for this to come out. So it was just such a big deal, and that's probably why it was on like a high, and then yeah, it just doesn't age well. Like I guess before I get into why I like it and why it's on the list, it just the whole plot hole with him getting out of the well. I had a problem with Tom Hardy's Bane does not age well. The fucking some of his dialogue you don't even understand what the fuck he's saying. You have the awful Talia al Ghul reveal. Why? Why did you have her be Talia? And I'm sorry, the girl isn't like ugly, but she's not fucking Talia. Talia is supposed to be like a bombshell. You should have gotten like I know I've said she should pretty much been multiple people, but Eva Green, I think she could nail a Talia kind of character. But you needed someone like that, or for one, you gotta have Talia revealed from the beginning. The whole let's reveal her in the end was so stupid. Because then you take away because at the time I thought Bane was good. Granted, this voice doesn't age well, but it's like I thought, okay, he could have been an effective villain because some of the shit he was on. I do love that opening scene, and it's just no, and it's just the cringy dialogue like, "Where's the trigger?" Like, you'll never do that to an ordinary citizen. Like, what does that mean, Batman? Like, come on. Yeah, it doesn't age well, but I do still have it on the list because I think there's a lot of good. I still think there's great performances. Christian Bale puts on a great last performance as Batman and Bruce Wayne. I do like the initial Bane Batman confrontation. I did think that was still well done. It's somewhat a decent adaptation of Nightfall when he does the backbreaker, even though Tom Hardy's small as shit, but I do think it still worked. Still effective. I do love that opening scene, and I do think it still works as a conclusion to the world. So I overall still love Dark Knight Rises. I just think it's a heavily flawed film. It doesn't hold up as like compared to the other two, in my opinion. In rewatch, overall, I still think the better movie is Dark Knight, but I think Batman Begins is probably my favorite, just because it is the more it feels like it feels. Sorry, it's fucking. Hold on, gotta wait for this fucking. I didn't know they're doing garbage today. Anyway, but yeah, like overall, like I still think it's a decent movie. So it's just very flawed, But my number 7 is Men in Black 3. Men in Black 3 was one, I remember being kind of hyped for this coming out of the fucking motherfucker. Sorry, I didn't know they were doing garbage today. Right when I do a video. Sorry, I'm just going to let this pass for a second. Jesus Christ. Sorry for the awkward silence, waiting for this fucking garbage truck to leave. I did not know they were going to be doing this right now. Alright, I'm just gonna have to talk louder because they're taking a fucking minute. I can't just keep doing this awkward silence. Men in Black 3 was one I was kind of hyped. I remember it being announced that they were gonna do it. And I was hyped because, I like the Men in Black movies. I mean, I like 2. 2 is probably the weakest one, but I do think Men in Black 1 is definitely a classic. 2 is decent, and this one I actually think is the second best one. I love the time travel. Like, it starts off with Kay being, erased. The premises. We do see Kay and Jay have like a mission beginning, which I like. I just love that their chemistry is just down at this point. Even though, obviously, Tommy Lee Jones a bit older now, but he still works. I definitely would have wanted him more in the movie, but it made sense for the story. You got to get young Tom, young Agent K, and man, I think they perfectly casted with Josh Brolin. Like, he nailed, Like you could tell he probably just watched Tommy Lee Jones mannerisms from the first two Men in Black movies, and he just tried to match it. I even when he said slick, he nailed it. It's like wow, like how he just nailed it is crazy. So I do love that aspect about it. I do like the '60s setting. I thought that was pretty fun. Even he had a funny joke with Agent J getting pulled over, but it was done in a funny way. Like it's one of those things. If they had did that scene now, it would have been far cringier. But at least it was 2012, so it was before that. The weird shit started coming in. It was there, but it was not like fully in Hollywood at that time. So it wasn't like I feel like you can get away with a scene like that and it not come off like preachy. It just felt like a genuine like joke. And I do like the villain. Boris the animal, he's a pretty good villain. So the premise is he goes back in time and kills Kay. So Kay isn't born and all that. And I do love it when Kay isn't born. Agent J's partner's fucking Will Arnett. Will Arnett's great. I think he's a genuinely funny guy, and I thought he worked for the little bit part he had in that scene. But overall, I love Men in Black 3. I watch it often. I do think it is the better sequel. Don't hate 2, but I think 2, compared to the first one, obviously, and then even the 3, I just think 3, and that ending where they wrap it around where, he sees, because, he had seen Agent J, and then he sees young, obviously, kid J, because he sees his dad die, because his father gets killed by Boris. So he almost and you realize that's why he sought out Jay. Like it's a perfect wrap up. It finally fucking left. Fucking god damn it. Okay, anyway, sorry guys. But it just works. Like I love that ending. So for me, it's a trilogy. I would have been for like a legit Men in Black 4 if they did it right. It's just they gave us that bullshit one with Tessa Thompson. So, god damn it. Sorry, guys. I don't know why there's a bunch of noisy fucking people out right now. Anyway, now it got a little bit quieter. So, yeah, like Men in Black, 4, if they wrapped it up like a legit one, I wouldn't mind one more, like with, Tommy Lee Jones. I would have been okay with that. What we got, it was bullshit. So, Men in Black 3 is a great movie. I think it's a fun addition. So, yeah, that's my number 7. Number 6 is Prometheus. And I know this is a controversial one. A lot of people hate this movie. And I understand. I can, to a degree, actually, I understand why people don't like it being part of Alien. Because I get some people's ideas, like, I don't need a prequel about the engineers. For me, I was okay with it. I enjoy it as a sci-fi film. I think there was it visually looks better than a lot of movies today, honestly. I have some fun characters like Elizabeth Shaw and Holloway are probably my 2 favorite characters in the movie. And love Michael Fassbender as David is so good. Charlize Theron as Meredith Vickers is great. Like, I like the ending. I love the sci-fi aspect about it. When they do find the ruins is great. I understand why people don't like it, and there's some dumb shit in it. I can understand. There's one scene people point out all the time, like, that was pretty dumb. But I do overall still love the movie. I watched it recently. These days, I don't necessarily look at it as part of the Alien franchise. I still kind of look at it as its own movie. Because I think it has a great cast. It's a fun sci-fi flick for me. That's why I like it. I understand people's like, it doesn't necessarily need to be part of the Alien franchise. I understand that. But, like, I just... So, but yeah, like, it has some fun characters. The ending is pretty good. David is Michael Fassbender is to me one of my favorite. Like at that time, like upcoming actors in like the late 2010s, or in the 2010s, I would definitely put Michael Fassbender up there. He is such a great. He's one of those even now, but at that time he was kind of up and coming. He was just. I just think he was probably perfect with the amount of great characters he played. So I like Prometheus. Alien Covenant is a fucking disappointment. I don't hate it like some, but it is not good. I do find it disappointing if you, especially considering like Shaw to me, movie like in terms of film, because I think overall best character, alien protagonist is that's not Ripley, is Amanda Ripley from Alien Isolation, but I do find um Elizabeth Shaw, like movie wise, she's the best. I think she's great. I think she's an awesome character, and the fact you just kill her off fucking screen, what the fuck? Like, why did you just couldn't get Numi Rapace to come back? Like, what? Anyway, because that scene where like she has to like try to get the thing out of her body, like that's a great fucking scene. I thought that she acted her ass off in that scene. Obviously, I don't think it's as iconic as a chestbuster scene, but I did like that scene, and it's just really like you wasted her. But anyway, but number 5 is The Gray. This came out in January of 2012. I remember wanting to see this because I like the premise. A man gets lost in the wood, basically oil man who crashed, and he basically has to survive a pack of gray wolves. It's a great film, a man versus wolves, and he has to survive in the snow. I love isolated films. I don't necessarily think it's a horror film, but it definitely does have horror elements. Liam Neeson is great. It's one of those films he kind of has to act with himself because not a lot of side characters. A lot of them die in the plane crash. Very simple. The final iconic scene when he confronts the alpha wolf, they charge at each other and then basically they both die. It's a great fucking movie. After he kills the other ones, it's a great film. Actually, gonna probably be one I want to review now. I honestly hadn't thought about this film until I put it on this list because I saw it was on the the 2012 list, and I was like, wow, yeah, I forgot about this movie. This movie is a fucking great one, and yeah, it's another great. It's not as good as Taken, but I definitely think Liam Neeson's great in this one. Especially, I don't almost say it's almost though, because it is. Oh, really? They do build tension great in this movie. The cinematography is awesome. Yeah, and the fact if you can act by yourself, like, because it is probably harder to do that. You're not bouncing off somebody; it's just you, and you're out to carry the whole movie. And the fact that you can do that and make it work is always to me great. So, overall, one of my favorite movies of the year that year. I remember being in a theater just being wowed. Um, so, but yeah, The Gray. That was on my list. My number 4 is Cabin in the Woods. This is to me. I remember I didn't see this when it came out. I'll admit I saw this one a little bit later. My friend showed me this. He was like, "You got to see this. This movie is fucking crazy. It's not what you think." And it starts off like, this comedy movie, like kind of comedy, like your typical horror Cabin in the Woods. And then we get like obviously you got the reveal about they have an underground lab with all these monsters. It's fucking great. It's such an awesome film. Great characters. Um, Good solid horror. The stoner character is probably my favorite character. You have fucking Sigourney Weaver as the villain towards the end is awesome. The scene where all the monsters get out is great. But I do like the slow build up, and yeah, it's an overall awesome film. And it's crazy because Chris Hemsworth was doing Thor at the time, and the fact you just see Thor just get splatted on the barrier wall is fucking crazy. And yeah, and the crazy ending, and yeah, I love this film. It's a great commentary on horror, kind of like Scream. Like it not necessarily the same, but like it does that kind of little bit of meta, but it's not in your face where it's still its own movie. So overall, love it. One of my favorite horror films. Had fun reviewing it. So yeah, I had to put it on the list. There's no way. And I kind of wish I watched it in theaters, but I don't know. I just at the time I just didn't capture me. So that happens sometimes when a movie comes out and I'm supposed to be like, I don't necessarily think about it at the time until like I watch it like way later. And yeah, it's a great film. So Cabin in the Woods, definitely recommend. My number three is Expendables 2. Expendables 2, to me, I actually think it's my favorite of the three. I think first one's a better film. I think it's one of those where I can acknowledge the first one's a better film, but I do prefer. I love to. To me, I'd love just. I actually like that Gunner's on the team, and that's actually one of the things I like. I just like he's on the team. Jean Claude Van Damme was a great villain. I do think Mel Gibson is still the best villain overall of the franchise, but I do think I love this movie. It had the right cast. Sucks, not a lot of Jet Li, but whatever. I'm okay with that. But it's still a great film. I love like fucking when they bring in fucking Chuck Norris is one of the greatest fucking entrances ever. The way it's also, and then you have this scene with Bruce Willis and Arnold, like when Bruce, Arnold said, "I'll be back." No, you've been back enough. It's fucking great to me. I died in the theater when he did that. Or you got like the fucking scene where he takes he gets fucking Terry Cruz's gets Caesar's gun, and Caesar's like, if you don't give this back, your ass is terminated. Like they do a lot of that. It's great. And the scene where the villain kills Liam Hemsworth, that's probably my favorite Liam Hemsworth movie, to be honest. I think he was really good in this for his little role. When he died, it's pretty sad. And then I do love the quote, "Don't challenge me." So, and then Van Damme's villain, come on. Villan is his name. Like, come on. That is great. Yeah, Scott Adkins is in it as one of the other villains. We get a pretty cool fight between him and Christmas towards the end. And the final fight between him, Villan and Barney is great. So overall, it's a fun one. I tend to watch this one the most of the three movies, and I say three, but yeah, it's definitely a great one. So that's my number three. Number two is Django. This was one I didn't see at the time because even at this time I was like, because I saw it was just a slave movie and I didn't necessarily know it was by Tarantino, so I was like, oh, it's another slave movie. I'm over it. Even at that time, I was over slave movies. I'm actually gonna make that video soon. I'm gonna talk about why I'm over slave movies and stuff. So I'll probably talk about that in the video at some point. But so I thought it was just gonna be another one of those. So I missed it in theaters, but I ended up watching. Let's just say a friend had a bootleg copy of it at the time. We watched it, and man, I was just stunned. I'm like, it is not what I expected. One, it's not really even a slave. I mean, yeah, slavery is there, but it's not the whole movie. It's kind of a Western. It has a Western feel to it. Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz. I tweeted this I think a week or two ago that because they're name an actor who could play both a great hero and a villain. I picked him because his villain in fucking Inglourious Basterds and him in this movie is such polar opposites. It's great. Granted, if I had one criticism, and I will say it wasn't a criticism at the time, but if I do look a little closely, I do think his death they could have did a bit better. I do feel like it was kind of dumb how he died. He just when he shot Candy, it's did he not I feel like he would have been smarter than that. You could have had him still do it, but had him do it in a way where it's a bit smarter, or maybe give Django and Broomhilda a chance to escape. The way it happened was a little. I just felt like I didn't feel like he was ever about to leave and he just shoots. Yeah, it was weird. But I still do. I do think it was sad when he died, and the soundtrack's great. Walton Goggins, one of my favorite actors, is in it. That's actually where I remember first seeing him, and I know he technically I had already seen him already. He's in um um Shanghai Noon in the first one. Yeah, he's in that one. So, but I first like really recognized him was in this movie, and yeah, he was great as one of the villains. I remember the controversy at the time. People were crying because there was a lot of hard R's, and like that was the time people talked like that. Like I know it's not um like fashionable, but that's just how people talked back then. If you're gonna do a movie like that and you're gonna deal with slavery, you're gonna hear that word. And and I gotta say the best for last. Leonardo, this is my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio role in any movie. Like he was so good as Candy, because he's usually the hero. Usually the lover boy hero in most movies. Or even and even in The Departed, where he did play rougher character, he wasn't a villain. So like what he was in this was just a polar opposite. I remember in real life, apparently like, he did not like it. Like he was so scared of using the word because he probably, and I can understand like because with his character he says it a lot. So, but it's a great one. Samuel Jackson. I think it's one of Tarantino's best, in my opinion. I don't think it's his best. I think Pulp Fiction is, but I do think it's up there for me. It's like my number two. I love this one. So definitely recommend it if you've not seen it. And yeah, I definitely why I like it. It's definitely I look at it as definitely way more than a slave film. It's not just like the whole movie isn't like slavery. You don't have like a like a Negro. I'm gonna say it Negro spiritual because I'm gonna have to say it when I review the Magical Society American blah whatever that fucking movie, something magical Negro movie, that movie. So I just have to get used to saying it. So, but yeah, like they at least didn't do that. It wasn't like it was at least it was like a cowboy movie, and it talked about black slavers in the movie, which it's rare. Like Hollywood even to this day. Besides that movie, can't think of another movie where they really, at least recently, have acknowledged that happened. But yeah, so overall, awesome film. One of my favorites of that year. I regret not seeing it in theaters. Another one I regret not seeing in theaters. Is Dread. I regret not seeing this in theaters because I remember just being stunned when I first watched this. And this is probably one of the best comic book adaptations of that character. I don't know a lot about Dread. I mean, I had seen the Stallone movie and I didn't hate it, but that's because I wasn't like a fan of the comic character. So when I saw people like shit on it, and I start kind of understood why after a while, because it's like, oh, because he's not like the comic and he had his mask off. And I often use a lot, and not just me, a lot of people use him as an example of like, especially because with the shitty Master Chief show, not Master Chief, shitty Halo show, like you can be a character with your mask on the whole time. It is a great film. It's kind of like The Raid, where they go through a building and you just got to clean it out till they get to the top. I love it. The action, the aesthetic. I love the dystopian world because Sandra Anderson's a great character. They don't make it, she's a great female character. She's just genuinely a great character. It's just an awesome film. And I love films, like I said, like The Raid, where you just go in a building and you got to work your way to the top or work your way out, So, and Mama, played by fucking Lena Headey. Like, Lena Headey, you would not think would play like a role like this. And she nails it. And then obviously when she gets killed in the end, it's crazy. It's a great film. I'm definitely going to review it at some point, too. That's going to be another one I do need to review it for the channel. Because it sounds fun. So I will be doing that. I don't know when, but I will be doing it. But aside from that, yeah, 2012 was a great year. Like, the fact we got this movie, and this is one I very much regret not seeing in the theater. I think it would have been an awesome theater experience. Especially the aesthetic. I can only imagine seeing that on the big screen. Unfortunately, it didn't do great, but it's definitely a cult classic. A lot of people love it. Like, I'm happy that it's getting its recognition, though, now, these days. So. Alright, y'all. We'll call it a year. Talk to y'all tomorrow for Saw 4. Peace.